Okay, so my adventures with Superman. First, we had the adventures of Superman. Then we had Lois and Clark, the new adventures of Superman. Now, damn it. Now, it's my adventures with Superman. I like to just sticking with the theme. Um, so when I first came across this show, the trailer, I didn't watch any of the trailers. I just saw the ones that pop up on YouTube when you're on YouTube, and ads, or if I'm watching something on like Sling or something. Yeah, all it really showed was an animation, the scene with the robots, and said it'll be on Adult Swim Thursday at midnight. Which, according to Sling, Robot Chicken was on, so I didn't record it, so I missed it. I don't know, but it's on also on, as you can see, HBO Max or Max. I've now had this app for 3 different names, whatever. But yeah, so that's how I caught it. Um, and at first, animation, I wasn't sure about it. Right? I'm like, maybe it looks maybe anime style. Maybe it borrows influence from anime like Totally Spies, which I like that. And I really like the animation. Um, what really threw me was this is on Adult Swim, as you can see there in the picture. And I'm like, Adult Swim Superman. Unless this got from Robot Chicken or a cutaway on Family Guy, those just don't mix, right? And like, there are rules when it comes to Superman. We have so many R-rated Superman movies, and we really shouldn't. Jerry Siegel and Joel Shuster, they wrote a whole list of rules to follow. But anyway, so yeah, I was a bit hesitant, scared to watch this, but I did. First 2 episodes, and that's rated PG, by the way. It's very like Christopher Reeve's PG. This is fine. So right off the bat, we're introduced to Superman and Lois primarily, and then Jimmy Olsen. Okay, and it's literally the same joke for each character. Like, they get up and they wash themselves. They're like, I start the job today. Zeus like, we're gonna be normal. Or it's just like, we'll be normal. Jimmy's like, fuck normal, because that's his character. And he doesn't say fuck, it's PG, but you understand. But yeah, and oh right, I almost forgot. I have 2 Superman shows, right? Remember just a few short years ago, WB and DC were extremely hesitant to give Superman any kind of TV show. Now he has 2 of them, and one of them's kind of going through stuff right now. Like, they cut 7 characters from the show or reduced their parts. Damn. It's not going to be on CW anymore, which may or may not be a good thing. It's going to be on Max, apparently. Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, this show, like I was saying, that's their characters. Like, Superman's very much. Dennis Quaid does. Dennis Quaid. His son. Holy fuck, hold on. Hold on. Oh, pretty sure it's not Dennis Quaid's son. Oh, shit, it is. Okay, yeah. Dennis Quaid. Not Dennis Quaid, his son, Jack Quaid. That's who's Superman does the voice. I the whole show, I'm like, these voices sound familiar. Again, I know nothing. I only just found out Jack Quaid does the voice when I got this picture. So yeah, that makes sense. Cause the dorky part, it's off the charts. I love it. I love that. The Superman part, or it's not too much of it. Sort of like Lois and Clark here. Actually, it's a lot like Lois and Clark. It's more of a rom com featuring Superman at this point, like Lois and Clark was. Only this is right when he's starting out. Now, Superman's best stories are when he's grown in space, flying around. But now this show's about him just starting out as Superman. James Gunn Superman's going to be about him being young, whatever. It's like Batman's parents. That's not really what we want. It's been done a lot. Next, I digress. But yeah, and so that's how it opens with him as a kid and his powers. And he's like, what am I? What's the theme throughout the show? And I saw him saving a cat from a tree, which has become standard. Superman saving a cat from a tree since 1978. Like, I love that. And then he cuts to, like I said, our three main characters: Superman, Lois, Jimmy Olsen. Just like, again, Lois and Clark. Really, it's that, but in animation. Like, we already know where they're headed at, all right? And they're planting the hard seeds for what we already know. I'm like, okay. And so, yeah, Superman's kind of dorky. They got that. I mean, Clark is dorky. They got that down. Superman, like I said, not yet. Like, there's even a point where when he finally turns into Superman, but he's still doing the Clark Kent voice. He's like, all right, Lois, Lois. And, like, it's like the ever so slightest change in his voice, unlike with Christopher Reeve, where it's like they get two different dudes. But yeah, he's the kind of the dorky. I love that dorky Clark Kent. And then Lois is actually a lot like Terry Hatcher here, a whole lot like Terry Hatcher. She's knows what she wants, driven, quirky, and oftentimes gets herself out of trouble, like Terry Hatcher did, which was revolutionary at that time, right? Like, literally, there were scenes in Lois and Clark where Superman was so like, Lois, I'm here, and she was like, oh, I'm sorry, because he's already whooped everyone's ass. And you see that here with this Lois. However, she always tends to get ahead of herself and get herself in trouble. Be it with Perry White or with the main enemies, which I get to. But yeah, but she's still strong and everything. And then Jimmy Olsen, probably the biggest change of all the characters. I want to start by saying I've never been the biggest Jimmy Olsen fan because he's a whiny ass bitch. That's just my opinion. He's like he just, I never took him seriously on Supergirl. Ever. I just can't. I like Justin Whalen and Lois and Clark. He was a good Jimmy Olsen. But I like the one iteration I like. So, well, no, and then the one, of course, in the Christopher Reeve movies. Anyway, but yeah, Jimmy Olsen is very much Mulder from X-Files. He wants to find the truth. Yeah, he's always talking about cryptids and everything. And I like how in this world aliens are cryptids. Like, people like, he's like, oh, they exist, and Lois and everyone else is like, no, they don't. And I'm like, I understand Superman was kind of the first hero ever, kind of, sort of. But this world is so well established by now through all kinds of media. There are aliens out there, for a fact. So okay, always baffles me. Like in Transformers, in the Michael Bay Transformers movies, when they do that, I'm like, but it'll get weird, but okay. But yeah, so that's Jimmy Olsen. He's basically Mulder, wants to find the truth and everything, has a podcast, and he's black. People are talking about that. It's not the first black Jimmy Olsen. Mekhi Brooks on Supergirl, that's a black dude. Perry White's black. People talking about that. Not the first black Perry White. In fact, in the whole DCEU, Word DC, whatever that's called, he's Lawrence Fishburne, who's a black dude. So I didn't think anything of it. Lois has a bit of a darker complexion than usual, darker skin tone, but that's all I've really noticed. Whatever. I like her new look here with the short hair. Like, and if I know how I feel about short hair. So I obviously I like this. And you can see Jimmy Olsen here. His look. He's like a half step being annoying. Again, I was never a Jimmy Olsen fan, so I don't take much. But yeah, that's where he's at with me. The main antagonist of the first two episodes really looks like the series. It's this overarching story. I love when cartoons do that, because most cartoons don't do that. Yeah, what Rick and Morty that sometimes does it when it feels like it, but in Futurama, which is about to come back, those are the only two shows I know with long overarching storylines. Okay, cartoons. I mean, yeah. So the main antagonists are this woman who has power of electricity and can kind of transform even to this creature. And I think she's Livewire. Not like it makes sense that she's Livewire. I'm not sure. And then there's this dude with his hair over one of his eyes, like it's from 2006 or something. The OC. I hate like I'm from that. Like I was in high school, middle school that era. Well, high school in '06, so I remember that era, and I'm glad it's over. This dude brought it back with the thread over. I hate that so much. And I think it's Deathstroke. That's messed up. I mean, he wears his colors, has the dual wheels, everything, right? I'm like, wow, okay. But yeah, so uh, Livewire, who I believe to be Livewire, is really the one doing everything. Like she's like they're giant robots you saw in the trailer, and the crew here, the group here, is trying to find out what the hell, right? And Superman Clark actually runs into I'm gonna say Livewire driving a garbage truck, and they exchange a look, but then she drives off. And then he's talking to Lois later, and they talk to some kids who saw her, and he's like, "Wait, hold on," and they find her, yeah. And it turns out Livewire's driving these trucks for I thought for sure Lex Luthor, but no. And again, I'm gonna call this dude Deathstroke until the show corrects me. For Deathstroke, and she's like, okay, I'm tired of being followed around. And now you got this flying dude follow me around. Meet me, or I just destroy all your shit. And so they meet, and then an interesting turn. Sorry. Sorry about that. Now, yeah, so the twist here in the second episode, after they meet and everything, and Livewire fights Deathstroke, and then Superman finally shows up as Superman. Like in the first episode, he doesn't have the suit; he's just wearing a hoodie because they can't stop doing that. But yeah, he's wearing a hoodie, and the first time he fights the robots and everything, and it looks it's a good fight. I like the robots. I also don't like the robots because they have an off switch, a kill switch. That's cheap, but yeah. And so after that, they're trying to find out. Like Lois wants to know who Superman is, and she gives him his name, just like she always does. And then he goes back to his mother, Martha Kent, and just like she always does, she helps with the suit, right? Because like we saw it in the flashback, her and Jonathan Kent, who's still around, by the way. That's how early in the story we are. Jonathan Kent is still around, and like they're telling Clark who he is. They take him to his ship, which is not the small pod we're used to. No, even though they showed it at the beginning when they're on Krypton. No, after that they take him like the Kents take him to the ship, and it's a bit bigger, maybe the size of your backyard. And he comes back to it later on as an adult because he like the first time around, Jor-El just came out of nowhere speaking Kryptonese. I thought it was Kryptonian, but Max's subtitles say otherwise. And yeah, and he's just shouting all this stuff and everything, and he's this giant apparition like in Smallville, and Clark stops her and it's like, I'm gonna be here anymore. And he comes back later on after the robot fight, and it's like, I want to know who I am because Lois, she wants to know who he is too. That's who Lois is. And Martha's like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah. And he goes in there, and by this time around, it's now the size of like a football field, okay? And it just grows for whatever reason. And he goes down there with Jor-El, who has a real good look. He has an eye patch now, and a full-on beard, the long hair, the S on his chest, some kind of armor. Looks so cool. Like a younger Odin from Thor. Yeah. Except he doesn't speak English. Again, he speaks Kryptonese. Alright, Max. And Clark doesn't understand him. And he's still expressing sadness on Jor-El. On this apparition, the pre-recorded apparition has expression of sadness. And he touches Clark and shows him Krypton. And Clark connects some dots. And then, before I explain what happens next, let's step back. So, throughout the first episode, Clark, his eyes glow, but not the usual red, they're blue. And it started when he was a kid and he didn't know why. And he also, this S glows on his chest. Not sure how I feel about that. But then this next scene happens that when Jor-El touches him and he's connecting dots, he glows again, and there's the S, and then it's Sailor Moon. He Sailor Moon transforms into Superman. he does. Yeah, that's yeah. And so now I'm kind of fine with the S on his chest, the glowing in the S, because it leads to a transformation. I like that. Sailor Moon style too. I never would have thought. And he's in the suit, and it looks okay. Just before Martha has her way with it, she's like, let me work on that. And she does. She gets him a belt. That's that age-old question, with or without the belt. I prefer the belt. Okay. The belt, she makes some adjustments to it like she always does, even in Lois and Clark, right? Um, and Jonathan Kent, who's still around, he's like, he whistles, like, whew, I can't whistle, it's like, whew, that's a fancy suit. And they saw us from behind, we haven't seen it yet, all fixed up. Not until he arrives to help in that fight we talked about earlier with Livewire and Deathstroke. He shows up like he always does to stop Lois from getting hurt. And his theme hits. Not the theme, that would have been awesome, but his theme for the show. And I thought it was pretty great. It was. And you see the suit, it looks fantastic. You can see it right there. They covered up the belt, which I love that they went the belt. The S, I prefer the classic S, but his S is okay. Yeah. So the fight happens. Livewire's like, she tells Deathstroke, I put bombs all over she tells Deathstroke, I put bombs all over the city, which we see. And Deathstroke is not phased. Not once. And so she stopped. It's after Superman goes through her electronic circle blast thing, whatever the crap that is, and stops her, and Deathstroke, I think, vanishes. And there's a running theme throughout the first few episodes, and I understand that this is a greater running theme for Superman. That can be particularly frustrating, especially to people who aren't familiar with him. That theme is him getting his ass whooped. It happens in DCEU or DC a lot. Earlier, like in Batman and Superman, he got that ass whooped a lot. Man of Steel. We know my thoughts there. But yeah, you understand my point. In the CW, when he first showed up, not only was he getting his ass whooped a lot, but he was always crying to Lois, to not Lois, to Kara, how much better than him she is and everything. And like, you don't gotta go back that far. Even if you don't read comics, there's other forms of media that explain that Superman will use that invulnerability, right? And he'll take an ass whooping if it means protecting the people. Okay. So though, when he gets whooped, he gets whooped. You see it with black eyes and bruising and cuts and swelling. It's crazy. That's probably why it's PG. And I've never seen that before. Him with black eyes and everything. Well, not since Muhammad Ali beat him back in the 70s. Yeah, not since then have I seen that. So that was interesting. He's fighting the robots. So yeah. And so yeah, they stopped Livewire, and Lois ends up apologizing because she's kind of, like I said, to get ahead of herself. She's selfish. She's got them all involved in this. And Clark got knocked somewhere else, which gave him a chance to change into that hoodie. Jimmy Olsen got knocked. Like, yeah, that was all on Lois. So she apologizes on the whole flirt thing. Like, Jimmy sends her Clark's number. I get this, but we know where it's headed. I don't. Okay. But yeah, and it does end with Superman flying in the sky, doing his pose, and like that's a good thing to keep going. All right. Since Christopher Reeve has been doing that, I love that. I do. There's a scene at the very end where Livewire is in a room. She wakes up in a room, all bright, like the end of Resident Evil, the first one, the movie. She's in a hospital robe. She's bolted down to the bed, whatever. Like they have her stuff locked on, so she can't get up. And she's shocked. Livewire is shocked, but it's a different kind. And it actually hurts her, and she's being intimidated by someone, obviously Deathstroke. And she's like, I don't know anything else. who the hell are you? And then he says, oh, that's simple. We're the good guys. And it cuts to him behind the screen with Amanda fucking Waller at his side. Somebody else I didn't get a good look at. And when he said, we're the good guys, instantly got reminded of Suicide Squad because they're always, we're the bad guys. Well, is that what this is? Suicide Squad working Superman? I understand Amanda Waller's a big character, but come on. So that's how it ends. I absolutely love these episodes. I'm glad they weren't what I thought they were, like some rated MA, like cussing, swear, bloody. Superman get bloody, but the cuss, the swear, and the sex. I'm glad it's none of that, no sexual stuff. It's Superman as we know him, and surprisingly, Jack Quaid does a good job as Clark. Only seen that much of him as Superman though. So, but yeah, it's basically an animated version. Like I said, of Lois and Clark. But with that, but Superman is now not incredibly controversial. But yeah. So that was my adventures with Superman. The 2-episode premiere. I loved it. And maybe you'll see another review in here. Thank you for watching. Maybe you should another review. I'm like the biggest Superman fan. Come on, man. Thank you for watching.